You anointing the room. Here you go. Let it flow. Let it flow. He's like a river.
I do not know.
Well, let's see. We've got approximately 2 minutes.
Who did the prayer last week? You feel passionate about praying?
I can do it. John's actually already reading scripture.
All right. John, would you be so kind?
John's already, he's actually covering the room already with the anointing.
I love.
If you look with your spiritual eyes, you can see it flowing.
Was it with the signature cards that have they been playing ball with you about filling out the comment cards? Okay. Okay. Does it work best for you for them to do that? Okay. Greetings. Howdy, sir. What's up, Aaron? Right, beforehand, before you can even be cleared. Yeah. I think we're good, shall we? Make sure everything's straight from an audio standpoint.
Vibrate, you got it.
This thing hardly ever works. And I don't like yelling.
Hello, can you hear me?
I never sure on that.
All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order tonight. Thank you for joining us. Councilman London, if you'd be so kind.
Let's stand. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we, your humble children, invoke your blessing on us. We adore you, whose name is love, whose nature is compassion, whose presence is joy, whose word is truth, and whose spirit is goodness, whose holiness is beauty, and whose will is peace, whose service is perfect freedom, and in the knowledge of whom stands our eternal life, unto you by all honor and all glory, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Councilman London, roll call. Present.
Present.
Councilwoman Cuellar.
Here,
Councilman Box.
Here.
Councilman Sims.
Here.
And myself present as well. All right. That being said, looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the March 7th, 2023 meeting.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes for the March 7th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
I do abstain since I was not present. Now that we have the minutes done, let's go ahead and if I could get a motion for the payment of the bills.
Make a motion that we pay the current bills of $742,863.40.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Noted. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. At this time, we would look for any professional or consultant reports this evening. Any professionals or consultants? Okay. Mayor, you have the floor, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Council President. I want to say good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Wow, that was. Y'all want to try it one more time and help to be able to corral a lot of those items that we had a chance to be able to participate with United Abilities in their the name of their project that is there. Also on Tuesday, the 29th at 3:00. Is that when we having the coffee evening with the mayor? If you come Wednesday, you'll be here by yourself. But if you come Tuesday, I want to say we moved it to Tuesday at 3:00. We're having afternoon coffee with the mayor. Also on April the 2nd, we're having the Irondale Easter experience in Beacon Park, and that will be from 2 to 4 p.m. And we're expecting to have over 3,000 eggs. Also, I want to thank the volunteers that came to stuff the eggs last week. It was 13 outstanding women who came, and they finished it up in about an hour and a half. They always say if you want to get something done, enlist the women to be able to do it. So I want to thank them for coming out and being able to do that. Also, I'm looking for everybody in this room to sign up for the 5K if you haven't signed up for the 5K. So we're looking for you to participate in the 5K, which is scheduled for April the 8th, downtown Irondale. Registration opens at 6:30 a.m. The 5K race begins at 8, and the fun run begins at 9 a.m. And then we're going to have a party after it's over at the pavilion. Oh, and my last thing is we finally have 1,007 individuals that have downloaded the City of Irondale's app. We still want those numbers to increase. I want to encourage my Android friends to sign up because there are only 229 people that have an Android phone, have signed up or downloaded the app, and over 778 individuals that have an Apple phone has downloaded the app for a total of 1,007. Those are the only announcements that I have for tonight, Council President, and turn it back over to you.
Thank you, sir. I'm used to longer announcements, so I took my glasses off.
I know,
I was
I-
getting comfortable and everything.
I mean, I hated to disappoint you tonight. We don't have any presentations, and I don't have a laundry list of things to talk about.
We'll appreciate the ones you do. That being said, any department heads that would like to deliver us a report this evening? Any department heads? All right, yes, sir.
Butch has over 30 years in the construction industry, 6 ITC certifications. He's been around for a long time. We've got a good man here. I just want to introduce him to y'all tonight, Butch Tucker.
Tucker?
Butch Tucker.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for coming on board. Any other department heads for a report this evening? All right, fair enough. That being said, we'll roll into our council member reports. I just want to thank our Public Works Department and our Irondale Police for aiding with the Marty's GM St. Patrick's Day party. I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to go up there. I know I drug my family unit up there about 6 o'clock, and I didn't see anybody I recognized, which was kind of cool because that must mean a lot of people that don't typically come into our city or are coming into our city. So I appreciated that. And I just want to thank the council for working with us through kind of some of the stuff we had to do to clean that up a little bit in regards to the language. But I want to thank the Public Works for hauling off the garbage and the police officers for keeping everybody safe. It was a fun event, and second one in a year, second one in a row. So we'll see what good things continue to develop there. So that is all and I would be remiss. I'm going to use a little bit of time during my report to kind of talk a little bit about some procedure and some housekeeping tonight. We have several things on the agenda, but most importantly, we have 3 dueling ordinances on our agenda this evening. So I want to be very clear about process. I'm not going to insert opinion. I'm just going to strictly deliver process because I know some of y'all don't always come a lot, and even when you do, you can pretty still easily get confused. So our ordinances have a 3-step process, okay? 3 dueling ordinances. They're all around the same subject matter, but they have 3 steps. So the first step is to basically consider it read. Every ordinance we do, we have to consider it read, which qualifies it as being its first reading, all right? Then the second step we do is a little non-traditional. We suspend the rules, which basically means it could be immediately considered upon the third step, which is a majority vote. So we'll move through all 3 of those steps with these 3 dueling ordinances. So the moral of the story is just wait till we get through all 3, because if depending on how it flows, I'm just going to stop talking. Let's just put it that way. But basically, we just want to go through the process with all 3, and then I'll give a recap at the end as far as what actually transpired to help you guys out, because I want everybody to walk out of here tonight understanding what has happened. So we'll walk through that if we need to. All right. That being said, Councilman Sims.
Thank you everyone for coming out. I've gotten a couple questions, and I'd like to ask the mayor if he has this information. I've been asked about hazardous waste day. Is that coming up in the spring at some point? And also, I think Trash Amnesty Day or Week.
Amnesty Week is going to start on April 3rd with District 3. April 10th, District 4. April 17th would be District 4. 24th would be District 1.
No, 17.
No, 5. 5 would be on the 17th. 1 would be on the 24th. And 2 will be May 1st. Hazardous Waste Day is April the 20th.
Thank you.
That's a classic call.
That's all I have.
Okay. Councilman Box.
Really, I'm going to forego my report tonight, just in the interest of giving our citizens time to talk to public hearing.
Copy. Councilwoman Quayle.
Yes, I do have a couple of announcements, and that is that this past March 11th, we had our first District 3 Make Irondale Proud Overton roadside litter cleanup in partnership with our Jefferson County Roads and Transportation Department. And it was a fantastic event. A special thank you to our District 3 community resident, Kim Rothery, as well as Jefferson County's Hannah Burwinkle Barris. She serves as the Education Training Coordinator for the Jefferson County Roads and Transportation. I want to thank them for all that they did to organize this event, and all our volunteers who came out, and they picked up 3 tons of debris and litter on Overton Road. Now, 3 tons is a lot of trash and debris that didn't make its way into the very valuable resource that we have in the Cahaba River. It serves as our water source for recreation and for many other valuable resources that we need in the Cahaba River. So it's very important we protect our water. And we also, this trash and debris is no longer on Overton Road. I'd also like to thank our Irondale Police Chief, Jason Wiggins, the Birmingham Police Department, and the Jefferson County Sheriff's law enforcement officers who helped provide the traffic control while our volunteers were picking up litter and debris. Now, I've received several emails and phone calls asking me if we could have another event soon, because many of those who participated and those who were unable to make this event would like to have another one to finish picking up around the areas that we were unable to get to the first time around. And so I'll be providing more information on the second one that we hold in the future. And the second item that I'd like to mention, and this is probably for the mayor, I received an email from one of my constituents noting that Jefferson County has a property tax freeze for citizens over 65 years of age. And she is wanting to know if the freeze the Irondale property tax as well.
It only applies to the state portion of an individual.
Okay.
Property tax.
Only applies to the state portion. Thank you.
Does that
That's all
conclude
I
your?
have. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
Councilman London?
Yes, first of all, good evening to everyone. Just one announcement. I just want to thank Marshall Sutton. Is she here tonight? Marshall Sutton. What about Michael Bemis? Did he come tonight? And Gary Talbot. He's here tonight. I want to thank those three. Stone Ridge Community has a new sign. And with Gary help, Marshall Sutton, and Michael Bemis, who are a new tenant over at, not say tenant, new resident owner in Stone Ridge, volunteered to help put it together. And Gary, thank you for coming out and helping put that in the ground. Did a great job. It's awesome. It's awesome. And he also, we have a little library up there. He turned the bench around. Didn't charge him anything, turned the bench around, and it looks great. I was up there today, and it looks better. It looks better. So the cop stop is coming, right, Chief? We're gonna have our first cop stop in Stone Ridge to work on that sign, and we also sit on that bench, read a book, and eat a hot dog. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. All right. At this time, do we have any reports of any boards or non-council committees? Any boards or non-council committees? Nope. Okay. We do not have any public hearings this evening. Speaking of public hearings, as we do deliberate and we accept comments from the audience about agenda items and then finally non-agenda items, we have a slip in the back by the double door. Please fill that out. That makes our clerk's life a lot easier, so that she does not have to watch this on YouTube 5 more times to get the names correct. So please help her out and write your name and your address on the slip so that we can allow you to speak. Approval of the form. So we're going to go ahead and get into the deliberation aspect of this. We have item number 1 on our consent agenda. Resolved that resolution 2023 R29 approves the city's storm water management plan 2023 prepared by the Jefferson County Department of Health and authorizes the execution of this document by Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. Mr. Cochran, do you have anything to say on this? No. Nothing to say? Okay. Councilman London, any questions?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box? No. Councilman Sims?
No questions.
And I don't either. Do we agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 2 on the consent agenda, resolve that resolution 2023 R30 authorizes the city of Irondale to purchase a 2022 Ford 350 with an 8YD power cam body dumper from National Auto Fleet Group in an amount not to exceed $87,504.12 and authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. to execute all documents related thereto. Mayor, I believe Mr. Minifield did come in, but I know you offered to introduce it as well. So whoever would like to introduce this. Greetings, sir. How are you doing?
Good evening. How's everyone?
How you doing,
Good.
sir?
Good, thank you.
Just figure we might bring you up in case any of the council members had any questions, but if you have anything to say on the item, the floor is yours.
Yeah, one of the purposes this will serve, we have some condos, but people don't have access to the front. and you can't take a heavy garbage truck in there. So this
Ah.
truck will help us to be able to get to and empty those cans and make it convenient for those citizens.
Gotcha. Councilman London, any questions for the
No
gentleman?
question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No question.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
And I'm good as well. I'm sure we'll call you back up here in just a moment. Yes, sir.
I just want to say one thing. The other reason that we're getting the truck too, because, you know, we put this code enforcement in place where we said that we're gonna start enforcing codes. They actually gave out 37 citations to individuals that left their trash cans out. And one of the places where it's hard for people to get their trash cans back in is on Bullmar. That truck will now be used to help those individuals to pick up their trash, but it'll be at the back of the property, not in front.
No, sir. That's fantastic. Good use. Do we agree to keep item number 2 on consent?
Yes.
Everybody's good? Okay. Item number 3 on consent, resolve that resolution 2023 R31 fixes cost of demolition and removal of the structure located at 965 Grants Mill Road, Irondale, Alabama, in the amount of $10,244.45. Do we have anybody to introduce that, or any questions, Councilman London?
Have we collected this money back, Kennedy?
I think we're just fixing the cost,
Just fixing the cost. That's all we're doing on this one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Councilwoman,
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions?
No questions, just that I appreciate them getting us the documentation to enable us to move forward with this.
Go. Councilman Box,
No questions, just echo Councilwoman Cuellar's.
Councilman Sims.
No questions.
Cool. And myself, no questions. We agree to keep this on consent.
Yes.
Item number 4, similar item. Resolve the resolution 2023 R32 fixes costs of demolition and removal of the structure located at 1224 Mill Lane, Irondale, Alabama, in the amount of $9,434.10. Councilman London, any questions on that?
No question.
All right, Councilwoman Cuellar,
No questions.
Councilman Box,
No question.
Councilman Sims.
No questions.
Do we agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Moving on to the regular agenda, item number 1 would be resolution 2023 R33 authorizes a special exception to the facade requirements for the Hub Commercial Center located near the corner of Alton Road and, how do you say that?
Henley.
Henley Lane, as allowed by Section 4-11 of the Municipal Code of the City of Irondale for a specifically designed building. Mr. Cochran, I know you're here. Is there anything you want to say about this or introduce this item, or no? No, you're fine. We just read item number 1 under the regular agenda that speaks to the exception. I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to say about that.
Oh, no.
No, sir. Okay. Councilman London, do you have any questions about that?
Question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
I just have a few comments, and that is, I was misunderstood. There were 2 gentlemen that approached the council at our last council meeting, and I thought that they already had a business permit to go on and do this, but there is no business permit that has been issued yet that I'm aware of, and we just passed an ordinance on what our buildings need to have. And so my concern as to is if we make this exception, then our ordinance is not, city attorney, if you can give me the language, we're already making exceptions to ordinances, and what's to prevent someone else from coming before the council and asking for an exception if we have already made an exception?
And that is something that comes to bear and must be considered.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Councilman Box?
Comments would be along the lines, Councilman Cuellar, while I would be open to considering moving this, I do think that we possibly need to revisit our ordinance and see if we can have any flexibility in moving around that provides for other facades or maybe lower percentages of certain materials on those facades.
Okay. Are you recommending that we remove this item or no?
That we
Do we
postpone
remove
it?
it or table it, or what would be the proper thing to do?
again, you know, or you could actually bring forward the ordinance if you chose to change it. Or you could, you know, could vote this as to whether or not you wanted to do it. You could do either one of those.
I'm good either way. If y'all want to put it on the floor, then we can put it on the floor.
I'd like to ask that we remove it and let's take a look at the ordinance, as Councilman
Okay.
Box has stated, that we do that first and work with it from that.
Councilman London, what are your thoughts on this item?
With the majority, if that's what they want.
Okay, so Councilwoman Cuellar, you're saying to remove this from the agenda? Councilman Box, are you saying the same thing?
Yes, I would, I guess we could do that. I would like to find out how soon, because I understand time is kind of the essence of this and maybe some other ones coming up that we, you know, do we have to have an ordinance committee meeting to retool the
No, we
ordinance?
could
or-
do that at the next council meeting.
You
Very
could.
good. So we could look at the ordinance next council meeting and possibly even include this one on that next council meeting after we change the ordinance.
It depends on what.
Right.
It could be that y'all determine a certain, you know, certain specification, and that this would fall within that. But if they don't fall within what you said, then an exception would be.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Good.
Aaron?
I was just curious if the people who are building this building are here, or any of their representatives, and if they'd like to maybe address, or I don't know. I know you talked at the last meeting, and I'm trying to remember exactly what. I know there was, I think, large windows and doors in the front, that pretty much the entire front is, I don't know what percent is glass, it looks like, but is that the issue, that there's not enough frontage
There's not enough masonry.
to even,
That the side be up to, be 60% of actually masonry or brick.
got it. I guess my question then is, if this gets, whatever the first week, first meeting in April is, I guess, how does that impact your timeline, or does it?
We need to, I didn't fill out a sheet, but.
We can get your information.
Post sheet.
Yeah.
Curtis Eatman. So we were basically pending the results here tonight. We were ready to turn our architect list to update plans. We are planning to start site work within the next 3 weeks. So it would impact our overall schedule, but we'll obviously refer to the council.
Okay. I know we've got two that are thinking about removing the item from the agenda. I would be fine with removing the item from the agenda as well, to possibly revisit the ordinance in 2 weeks, and then maybe have more of an accommodating situation depending on how the ordinance is redone, if it's redone. But from an exception standpoint, not so sure.
So I guess my only comment, and I want them for the aesthetic, and I think I gave these out.
Yes.
I guess this building is very special in its architecture, so I don't know that we would, 60% is a pretty aggressive requirement, especially with the glass that we envision at the front. So we could comply with the ordinance by changing materiality, but I'm concerned that, we went to, different, we could do other alternatives. I'm just concerned we wouldn't be able to maintain the aesthetic that we're looking for. Different product.
Yes, sir. That is one of the things that I did want to revisit is the materials, because we've only got masonry and brick, and I would like for us to discuss some other materials that could be used.
If I could address Council President.
Sure, please.
I think stone is considered masonry. This just having been in that industry, my father is stone's considered masonry, concrete blocks considered masonry, exterior tiles considered masonry, stucco's considered. Many things fall into the masonry guideline. I think where we're at is looking at retooling this ordinance quickly to maybe allow for a little less than 60% masonry. Now, I don't know that exactly, but I think that's what we're looking at trying to do, or maybe combining and saying masonry and glass, masonry and wood, something along those lines.
So, I mean,
So-
we can take it through the process tonight if you would like, or we can remove it, revisit the ordinance, and then reapproach.
Mr. President, can I comment?
Yes, sir.
So if we gonna revisit this resolution, would it be better just to postpone it until the next meeting to give us a chance to look at it instead of removing it? If we're gonna
legal
revisit it,
and semantics, I believe. Yeah.
Right.
And so if you choose to do that, then you could always remove the resolution at that time.
Okay.
So postpone it.
We'll just postpone it to next meeting.
Councilwoman Quayle,
Yes.
Councilman Box.
Okay, if I'm understanding correctly, then if we can retool the ordinance to an acceptable thing to everyone on the council,
Right.
then the variance is possibly not needed at that point in time. We could just, that resolution could be removed.
That is
That's correct.
accurate. Yes,
That's
sir.
accurate.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct.
Councilman Sims,
Sure.
postpone it 2 weeks. You good? Cool. Thank you very much. Legal, do we need anything else from them at this point? I would agree with that. I would agree. Thank you, fellas.
One thing, Council President.
Yes, sir.
I would like to see, because I don't find it anywhere covered, what percentage of stone or masonry you are putting on the building. Is the facade X amount of square feet? And then what is that percentage? That would be great to know.
That's appropriate.
That'd be great to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So to consider when we approve the agenda, item number 1 to be postponed.
Or to be removed.
We're just going to postpone it 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
To the next council meeting.
Yep. Okay.
Not make it on the agenda. I was planning on speaking to you guys during the public comments, but sounds like that would be best done in 2 weeks if we're going to discuss the exact same ordinance that you guys are going to take up.
Right. If you want to speak, since we're removing it from the agenda, if you wanted to speak on non-agenda items at the very end, you could definitely do so. Or since we're obviously not getting into that subject matter tonight, if you wanted to reapproach in 2 weeks, I could understand that from use of time.
I did have some information that maybe y'all find useful. Probably if you prefer I do that during the public comment section, I can.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Item number 2 under new business, resolve that resolution 2023 R34 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart to execute a task authorization for the on-call contract with Sane and Associates, Inc. for a transportation assessment in an amount not to exceed $10,000. Mayor, do you care to present?
I do. Well, first of all, I want to give my condolences to Joe Meads. His mother died on today. He was going to be here to be able to go through this resolution with us, but Joe is his firm, Sane Associates, our city engineers. But this transportation assessment is a part of Blueprint Irondale. One of the items that we listed as a part of that we would put together a transportation plan. This allows Sane to go ahead and do that in the amount of $10,000.
All right. Councilman London, any questions?
No question.
Councilwoman Guerrero?
No questions other than to say, Mayor, I think this is a great idea, and I certainly am happy to be seeing this happening.
Councilman Box?
No questions other than could this be moved to consent?
Fair enough. Do you have any questions, Councilman Sims?
None.
Okay, and I'm good. Councilman London, what do you say about moving this to consent?
I'm good. We have a
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Sure.
Myself, yes. Mayor and legal, would there be any reason we would not be able to move this to consent that you see?
No.
Okay. All right. So item number 2 under new business, I guess will become item number 5 under consent. Thank you for that observation, sir. Item number 3, ordained that ordinance 2023-10 modifies chapter 7.5 garbage, refuse, and trash of the municipal code of the city of Irondale, Alabama regarding the 64-gallon recycle cans and the garbage collection fees. Mr. Minifield or Mayor, whichever one would like to introduce this item.
I'll let Alfred speak to it.
Okay, thank you.
We saw that the 64-gallon can is something new. We want everyone to use it. Obviously, it prevents contamination, and those contamination rates are very expensive for us. So that's why we want to move to that and kind of lower our costs.
Okay. Councilman London, any questions?
no question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No, I spoke with our legal city attorney, and they were just some minor things, just where things weren't placed in the right order, and she's made those changes with our city clerk, so I'm good with it.
Okay. Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
And myself, no questions. Thank you again, sir. All right. So now we get into 4, 5, and 6. We'll just take them one at a time. Ordain that ordinance 2023-11 modifies chapter 5 business regulations, article 9, short-term rentals of the municipal code of the city of Irondale, Alabama, and portions of the zoning code to allow short-term rentals as a conditional use in R4, C1, and C2 districts. Anything to say on this, Councilman London?
Nothing.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No further comments on it. We had our discussions at our ordinance committee meeting. For those that did not have a chance to attend, basically what this will do will move the short-term, also known as Airbnb type rentals, out of residential neighborhoods, but it will allow them to operate in R4, which are like townhome type structures, apartmental type structures, C1 and C2, which are commercial type areas. That's basically it in a nutshell. And if they were to want to go ahead and apply for that, they would need to go to our Planning and Zoning Commission, present their case, and anyone that's in favor of or against would have the opportunity to speak. And depending on what the Planning and Zoning could then either recommend or not recommend, but it will still come before the city council, for the city council to decide whether they want to approve that permit or not. Did I miss anything legal on it? That's basically in a nutshell. That's what that ordinance number 1 is.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Box, any conversations on this particular iteration?
I guess my only comment would be, it had been brought to my attention that Hoover had made some changes just recently to their ordinances that kind of mirrored this type of ordinance. So that's my only comment.
Okay. Councilman Sims?
The only thing I don't like about this one would be that the people who have been operating for years would be told that they can't operate anymore, even though they followed all the rules that we've created, even since they were doing it before we had rules. And I just don't think that's fair.
Fair enough. All right. Item number 5. Ordain that ordinance 2023-12 modifies chapter 5 business regulations, article 9 short-term rentals of the municipal code of the city of Irondale, Alabama, and portions of the zoning code to allow short-term rentals as a conditional use of A1, E1, R1, R2, R3, R4, RCD, R5, R6, R7, HD1, and PCD. Councilman London, any questions on this one?
No question.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
For those that were not here, what this does is, and when we talk about, Counselor Sims talked about all the people that have been operating in accord with the ordinance. There are four of them that have been operating. And I just received an updated list from our city clerk, and we now have, it was 11, but we now have 8 that are not in compliance right now. And so what this one does is it does what the first one does, except they're residential neighborhoods, and all of these codes, estate lots. We're talking about residential 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, and HD ones. So it encompasses several type of zoned properties, and conditional use is a key. Again, they would need to go, anyone that's within 500 feet of someone that wants to operate a short-term rental in these zoned areas that we've just spoken about, will have to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and residents that live within the 500 feet will then need to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission to either express their support or their opposition to that zoning, which will then come before the council for the council to decide whether or not to approve that request. So kind of like number 1, but it's focused on residential areas where anyone that lives within 500 feet in all of these zoned areas will have the opportunity to come before the planning and zoning and then come to the council meeting and express their opposition or support.
Okay. Councilman Box?
In layman terms of what I think Councilwoman Cuellar was saying, basically this one does give the neighborhoods more say-so in anything that's attempting to come to their neighborhood. So to me, it's hearing from more of the citizens that may not have objections to it coming in their city. So I think the spirit of this one on Councilman Sims was to try to be a little more fair and a little more liberal where one could be, and give the citizens of that neighborhood more of a voice. That's my understanding.
Okay. Councilman Sims, you've done a lot of work on this ordinance. You spent a lot of time on it. We've been talking about this stuff for a year. What say you on item number 5?
Well, I mean, I guess in my opinion, it doesn't allow them everywhere, and it doesn't ban them everywhere either. It just allows a path that someone who might want to have one should hopefully start off the process by talking to their neighbors, because their neighbor is going to be able to come out and say, yes, we agree, or no, we don't. I'm not for or against them. I'm for the people that have been doing it the right way being allowed to continue to do that, because their neighborhood seem to have no problems with it. And if people show up and say, hey, we don't want one in our neighborhood, if someone tries to have one, then I support you. If people show up and say, I don't mind someone next door to me having one, and that one's got support, then I support them. I don't think we'll see a flood of people having permits or trying to get permits. Basically, this is just the first ordinance we passed a year ago, give or take. Was it March? I'm not sure what month it was.
Wow.
February.
It didn't hit everything. I don't think it didn't accomplish everything that it should have. It was a start. It was the first step. And we kept hearing issues that people had with short-term rentals. And so this is basically me taking everything I heard and researching and finding ways to try and take care of all those issues. Parking not allowed in the street, higher fines, higher cost to try to get a permit, tougher to get the permit, have to get buy-in from your surrounding neighbors or it's not going to happen. So that's where that one is. It's just my attempt to try and create solutions for everything that I heard was an issue, and give the people a chance to, again, just like Councilor Bach said, If you support your next door neighbor or the person behind you having one, then great, support them. And if everyone else supports them, great. If not, then it probably won't go in next door.
Fair enough, sir. Thank you. Finally, item number 6, ordain that ordinance 2023-13 modifies Chapter 5 Business Regulations, Article 9, Short-Term Rentals of the Municipal Code of the City of Irondale, Alabama, to prohibit short-term rentals in the City of Irondale. Councilman London?
No question. I'll hold my thoughts till later.
Copy that.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Layman's terms, it bans short-term rentals, Airbnbs entirely in the city of Irondale. That's what it does. So there wouldn't be any allowed to operate. Now, those 4 that are complying right now would be allowed, if this were to move forward and pass, the 4 that are operating right now would be allowed to continue to operate until the end of the year, 12/31/2023. But after that point, they would not be allowed to do it. The 8 that are not in compliance would not be allowed to do it at all. So the 4 that are in compliance would be allowed to continue to operate until the end of the year, if this passes. And the same thing with ordinance 1, they would be allowed to do that with ordinance 1. I failed to mention that, and I wanted to make sure that I did mention that for the benefit of everyone here.
Thank you. Councilman Box?
The only comments I have on it is echoing Councilwoman Cuellar, and want to thank Lee Allison for the good work of getting this to us, and the good news of the, I guess, software that we did purchase, employ, and our code enforcement officer, that the 8 that are on here that are not in compliance have now removed their advertisements from their Airbnbs or from their websites, which doesn't mean they can't kind of try to work it outside that scope. But this will be something that I believe we would need to continue if we finally adopt item number 6.
Copy. Councilman Sims?
But these 8 not in compliance, I'm just curious, have they been issued any kind of citation or just a warning, or I guess, is there some process that's?
They were sent certified to cease and desist because of the moratorium.
So did they have a permit?
No.
Okay.
No permit, no license.
Okay. And again, I guess same thing as for the first one we talked about. I mean, again, a ban would punish the people that I feel like have been doing their thing and not having any compliance, and I don't think that's fair.
Fair enough.
Mr. President, also on that one, I do have one comment on that one.
Please.
If you pass 6, then those folks that are not in compliance will stay compliance, and you won't have any ordinance to protect the city or yourself. You know, if they don't have any rules to go by, they're going to continue to do what they're doing if they're in compliance right now. And there will be no ordinance to fine them or whatever, you know, so you just have to be careful on that one.
Well, actually, in looking at the ordinance, and I did visit with our city attorney on it, there are some things that are in that let
So
bans them
let
entirely.
me finish my one last statement.
Okay.
Right now, they're operating without being in compliance. And if you ban them, guess what's going to happen? They're going to continue to operate without being in compliance.
No, but there are fines, $500 for each day that the owner of the property rented a dwelling to a transient for less than 30 days. So if we pass ordinance number
6.
Item number 6.
Item number 6.
And it's banned, okay? They continue to operate, then they are issued citations. They will have to come to the court, and for each day that they have been operating, there will be a $500 fine because they're not allowed to operate. The 4 that are in compliance will be allowed to operate until the end of December.
Do you agree with Councilwoman Cuellar's assessment? Okay.
Which basically says that there won't be any short-term rental in the city, you know, because they are prohibited. that actually has a penalty of, $500 per day for every day that they operate. Now, that would require a separate citation for every day, but each day that they operate would be a separate offense.
Okay.
And
With-
so that fine is $500
Per day.
Per
per
day.
day.
Per day.
That's it.
In April, is there a cap on that would be cumulative, or it is just every new offense is $500, $500, and there's no discretion of the judge or the court to lower that fee?
Okay. Any follow-up questions on that, Councilman London, with that?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And then Councilman Box, anything else on that?
Good on that. Thank you.
Okay. You're good, Councilwoman Cuellar? I want to make sure I didn't skip you.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
just wanted
Thank
to
you.
be sure that I clarified that because it is in the ordinance.
Okay, copy. Councilman Sims, any questions on this?
None.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. That concludes our deliberation. At this time, I will look for an approval of the form of the agenda, keeping the changes in mind.
I'll make a motion that we approve the form of the agenda, postponing item number 1 under new business and moving item number 2 under new business to the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second?
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. At this time, we would take public comments on agenda items only. So the items that we just deliberated, we'll take comments on those agenda items only. We'll cap you at 2 minutes per. And once again, if y'all would be nice enough to drop your sheet with the city clerk here. All right. The floor is open. Okay.
Who's excited? Hi. Happy Tuesday, Brenda here again.
Good to see you, Ms. Butts.
I am Mary Beth, Butts, 1506 Monticello Road. Wanted to thank you guys for what you've done already. The research, we appreciate it. The ordinance that you put in place already, we appreciate it. It's more than what we had before we got shot at. So we are grateful for that. I want to remind you guys, I know that we've been the most vocal on Monticello Road because we were the ones that took shelter in our own homes when bullets started flying, okay? I understand that, but I also wanted to remind everyone on this council that we have a signed petition from 200, I think it's 201, correct me if I'm wrong, citizens, taxpaying citizens of the city of Irondale that are opposed to short-term rentals. I just want to put that out there, remind everybody, 200 people are not here like we are, I get it, but remind them. It exists. We would love for them to go away altogether, obviously. At the very least, though, we ask that you guys consider number 4 on the new business agenda items, which is Councilwoman Cuellar's proposal for the ordinance to leave them in the commercial areas. Last thought, neighborhoods are for neighbors, not for homeowners. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Any other? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
We have an Airbnb at the end of our street. And Saturday night, when we came home, they evidently were having a big party because there were cars parked all over our green space and all in their yard and all in their driveway. I live too far up the street, so I don't know if there was any trouble, if the police had to come or whatever. But I can tell you that it made me nervous. This morning, when I left, the man that is evidently one of the men that are in the Airbnb had a huge dog. The yard is not fenced in. And he was running around, no leash, no nothing. And I'm talking, this was a 120-pound dog. And he was walking way in the backyard, and the dog was in the front yard. So this is just one more example of how there is no control. You know, just because we have to follow the leash law, evidently he doesn't think so. And he's right by the green space where people are walking, people are sitting, and with no leash on this dog. Now, it may be a big baby, but you know what? I don't want to find out. So this is just an example of what could possibly go on at an Airbnb, because we have one at the end of our street.
What is the address of that, please? Do you have the address of that?
Yes, it is 301 East Ventura Drive.
Is that in Irondale?
Yes, it is in Irondale.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions regarding agenda items only?
I'll bring you my paper in a minute, but you know who I am. Terry Johnson, 1504 Monticello Road, Irondale, Alabama. I thought I knew what I was going to say tonight, but I find myself now a little bit at a loss for words. I don't think any of the three proposals that were presented to us tonight provide an adequate solution. 4 people are currently operating within the parameters of our current ordinance. I don't think that they should be punished by an outright ban. By the same token, I don't think we should allow new Airbnbs to enter the city because, as Ms. Pike pointed out, they're only trouble. They only are trouble. The no party policy that Airbnb put into place clearly does not work. They don't care that it doesn't work, and they can't enforce it. And we're talking about 4 people out of hundreds and hundreds who have said, we do not want them in our community. Irondale's mission is building community, and these properties do not build community. They tear community down. They tear communities down. They do nothing to build communities. They bring in people who are in and out, stay a few days, don't even hang around in the city. They're just looking for a place to sleep. But I'd like to remind each one of you where you stood last year about this time when I stood in front of you and told you what it felt like when I had to hit the ground to avoid being killed in my own home from one of these properties where the owner did not do diligence to screen his clients, to make sure that they were safe, where I still have a piece of shrapnel embedded in the headboard of my bed, 18 inches from where my head hits the pillow every night. It's actually closer now because I got a new mattress, so I might not be so lucky next time. And just remember the rawness of that whole first meeting that we had where we discussed this and how I am still traumatized and how my neighbors are all still traumatized and how the damage went way more than 500 feet. So notifying people within 500 feet, not adequate at all. I'm asking you to remember the rawness. Remember your anger. Remember how you vowed that you would not let this happen in our community, that you would not put the safety of your citizens at risk.
Ms. Johnson.
Remember, Councilor London, how you said you loved your grandbabies and wanted to keep them safe.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'll come back around to you. Don't let me forget, okay? Any other comments to the council on agenda items only? Yes, sir.
Members of the council, I just want to thank you for all that you do for the city of Irondale. Thank you. I am in favor of banning all short-term rentals. The cities of Trussville, Homewood, Mountain Brook, Vestavia Hills, and Hoover, although someone mentioned Hoover this evening, have banned them. Now, if they have banned them and we don't, then those folks are going to be looking at us to come here. So once again, let's use prudence and ban all these short-term rentals. Thank you very much.
Any other comments on non-agenda items? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, council members. I'm Christina Hensel, 5704 Belmont. My family feels that Airbnbs should not be allowed in Irondale residential areas because they increase crime rates. Other cities that have just been mentioned have all banned Airbnbs in residential neighborhoods. Safety and security of our neighborhoods is very important. We do not need shootings and crime associated with them in Irondale. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thanks, everybody. Mayor. Just want to kind of echo what others have said. Obviously, I would support either number 4 or number 6. I understand the arguments that Aaron's made. I appreciate those. But I feel like one of the things they do, they artificially inflate property values at the expense of like someone said earlier, community. I also know that most of them go on without a hitch. There's no problems. They're good folks. They come in, they stay, keep to themselves, and they leave. I guess my argument to that is 99% of drunk drivers get home safely, but we don't want them on the road, So I would urge you to either go for 4 or 6, because like he just said, other cities have banned them. Those investors, those folks, they're going to be looking for somewhere to go, and that's going to bring them here. So appreciate it. Hope y'all have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments on? Yes, ma'am.
Nina Nolan, 1501 Monticello Road. If I may, when I found out that the gentleman that bought the house across the street was turning it into an Airbnb, it was a done deal. He, bought it. We thought he was going to be moving in there with his wife and small child. We were delighted. And just at when he was finished with his renovations, he says, "Oh, it's going to be an Airbnb." You and I, we've stayed at Airbnbs. We go in, we try to be courteous to the people. I do the same in a hotel. You be courteous of other people around. So I'm assuming, okay, Airbnb. All right. I had no idea. I had no idea of what would ensue with the noise, the traffic, the hollering, all hours of the day and night, and then the shooting. So please take that into consideration. 4 or 5. I don't want to penalize people that are following the rules. I understand. If you've got skin in the game and you can control it, that's okay. But please, if he, when he came to me and said it's going to be an Airbnb, I never in my wildest dreams, because I'm not that kind of person, to think we're going to have people over here from other areas, 18-year-olds partying, smoking dope, no telling what else is going on in there, and the bullets start flying. So just please take that into consideration. If somebody gets a letter in the mail from the zoning committee saying, "Hey, this person's considering an Airbnb, your first thought is, okay, until reality, which is very frightening, sets in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on agenda items only? Yes, sir.
Eduardo Courtright, 5749 Belmont Drive. I just want to echo the same sentiments. Basically, in my mind, the purpose of a residential area is for residents who are tied to that area and are committed to that area. And this kind of business is for a business district, not for a residential area. So that this kind of business, I understand that somebody can have a business that absolutely has no effect on the neighborhood other than what normal people living there would do. But if you're inviting a business into a residential area, then you're inviting a stream of people that are not tied to the neighborhood and they don't have any responsibility towards it. So I would say doing this would allow weakening the idea of a residential area. In other words, you're going against the concept of a neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on agenda items only? Yes, ma'am.
I agree with the community, with what the gentleman just said about banning them in residential areas. Now, the problem that I have with the broader option that Councilman Selm presented is that it could have unintended consequences and maybe not set a precedent, but maybe set a policy where people think that they could choose on their end of the street, like my end of the street, we have 6 homes. We could all get together and say, yeah, let's all do it. I'll vote yes, you vote yes, we'll all just do it on the end of the street. I think it'll have unintended consequences, and I think it will cause splits within the community with people voting for or against their neighbor doing something like that. I think probably just banning them in the residential areas, like Colorado has done that. They've had a huge, same problems out there. It takes away the housing stock. It's caused problems. And it's unfortunate the 4 that's operating. Would there be a way that they could be grandfathered for longer than the end of the year until they change ownership of the house or something like that?
Grandfathering
Florida
is
has
not
done
allowed.
that with some of their historical properties.
That was my first.
Okay.
The grandfathering is not allowed. Fair enough. Appreciate your comments. Any other comments on agenda items only? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good evening.
Mayor, I am totally against Airbnbs. However, I'm willing to compromise on the ordinance that we have in place now. And, you know, if you don't want to totally ban them, but if we go along with Councilor Sims' ordinance, I think Holiday Gardens would just go to the dumps or something. So it's already going down. And with Airbnbs, the way he want to put them everywhere in the residential area, I don't agree with that. And I wish you would consider a total ban or compromise the one that we have in place now. Thank you.
Any other comments on agenda items only? All right. Ms. Pike, you had 30 seconds when you stopped, so it's all yours.
Number 1 is never forget this, council, with all due respect, we're not Hoover. I don't care what they make in Hoover. We're not Hoover. We are Irondale, and I intend for us to stay Irondale and not worry about Joe Blow over here. Number 2 is, I don't know if y'all have ever considered, I guess because we were annexed in and we didn't have a fire department and we didn't have a police department, and I appreciate them so much. But when you're talking about putting Airbnbs in apartments, I live between 2 apartment complexes, and it is trouble already. It's a drain on our resources already. The
Thank you, ma'am.
fire trucks, the ambulances, the police department. So consult with them before you go volunteering their services for more trouble with Airbnbs in apartment buildings.
Thank you, Mrs. Pike. Okay. So that closes the floor to public comments on agenda items only. At this time, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No nays, no abstentions. Okay. Moving on into the new business portion. Item number 1 being postponed. Item number 2 being added to consent. Item under regular agenda, new business. If someone could go ahead and get us started on the process for number 3.
Make a motion that ordinance 2023-10 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2023-10.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Make a motion that ordinance 2023-10 be approved and adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. So that ordinance passes. Item number 4, if someone could go ahead and start us there.
I make a motion that ordinance 2023-11 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2023-11.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
I make a motion that ordinance 2023-11 be approved and adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. We'll do roll call on this. Councilman London?
No.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
No.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Item number 5.
Make a motion that ordinance, so where we're at, 2023-12 be considered read.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2023-12.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, no. Item number 6.
I make a motion that ordinance 2023-13 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2023-13.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
And myself, yes. I'm sorry. Councilman Sims? Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself.
No.
No. You're not considering it read?
No, that we
Well,
He hasn't suspended the rules yet.
right.
Wait, where are we in the process?
So
first step.
we're in the first step. I thought we were in the
I
second
thought
step.
we were in the second step.
We're in
thought
the
we were-
second step. So we considered it read on the first step. That has
Correct.
successfully been done.
I thought we did too also. We suspended all rules with a roll call.
Well, I was
need
going through. I hadn't gotten to the end of the roll call yet.
I think a point of orders is required right here. Going back to ordinance number 5.
Right.
You voted no, and Councilman London voted no. So did ordinance number 2023-12 pass or fail?
Ordinance 2023-12, it failed in the third round.
Failed in the third round.
But
Okay.
that's
Right.
the majority.
Well, no, I'm
Just
sorry.
being
I
clear.
apologize.
It didn't get to the
Okay.
third
It did not
round.
get unanimous consent. Oh, it did not get unanimous approval in the third round, but it only needs a majority in the third round.
Okay.
So I've got 5 yeses. on 2312 and 1 no on the third round of 2023-12.
Okay, so on 2023-12, you have 4 yeses and 1 no?
That is accurate.
So it passes as well.
That is
which,
correct.
As we have discussed then before, supersedes 2023-11.
Correct.
Okay.
2023-11 also passed on a majority. Item number 5 passed on a majority. I'm keeping score correctly. Correct, legal? No?
No.
I'm very confused.
You weren't announcing, so I couldn't follow.
Okay.
So we're still back at we're still back at 2023-12 to finalize that one passing or failing. If it passes, it will
Lee.
supersede.
One moment, clerk.
I was gonna ask.
I just got to the second reading.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yes,
Right.
you killed it.
Okay, then that is
Well,
my fault.
suspended it. Suspended
Okay.
it. Didn't kill it. Suspended
Okay,
it.
right. I would accept a motion to revisit item number 5. We can do that.
Okay.
Okay. Councilman London, you're good with that?
I'm good with that.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box, you're
Yes.
good with revisiting 5?
Yes.
Councilman Sims, you're good with revisiting
Yes.
5? Okay. Let's take it from the top. My apologies. If someone could start from scratch on item number 5.
All right. Make a motion that ordinance 2023-12 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2023-12.
Second.
Motion and second, roll call, Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes. The third step of
Right.
23-12.
Make a motion that ordinance 2023-12 be approved and adopted.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll go roll call on this one. I think that's where I messed myself up, was doing a double roll call, so I apologize for that. I was just trying to get it on record. Councilman London, what say you?
No.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No.
Councilman Box?
No.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, no. Thank you. I appreciate the point of order, guys. That's what I get for trying to clarify the record.
Council President,
Yes, sir.
can you tell us what was the outcome for number 4?
Yes, sir.
3-2.
3-2 in favor.
Right, at step 3. Where you
Okay.
just need a majority.
Right. So that one is adopted.
No, not necessarily. We still have one more.
Because of the language in the ordinance that repeals any prior past ordinances.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Item number 6, from scratch.
I make a motion that ordinance 2023-13 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye.
I make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2023-13.
Second.
Motion and second, roll call, Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
I make a motion that ordinance 2023-13 be approved and adopted.
Second.
Motion and second, roll call again, Councilman London?
No.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
No.
And myself, yes. Okay. So to give you a recap of what we just did, aside from me messing up item number 5, I apologize about that. I was just trying to be very specific about the record for the count, which is where I confused myself. The language in the ordinances, as they're written, basically repeals the language and repeals the ordinance from any other prior approved ordinances. Item number 6, which has been referred to as the ban, was the last ordinance on the agenda. Yes, did some other win by a majority? Yes, they did. But item number 6 took place of anything that was approved prior. Are we tracking? Okay. So at the end of the day, regarding short-term rentals, item number 6 wins the day. Okay? We've come to the end of our agenda. At this time, we would take public comments to the council on any non-agenda items. Yes, sir. I'll give you a little bit of time because you're presenting something. Okay, thank you. Absolutely.
Good evening. evening. My name is Bert Boykin. I'm here on behalf of my client, Steve Van Winkle, who owns J&S International, which does business as marble and granite imports. Mr. Van Winkle's business manufactures countertops. He owns the property at 300 Ruffner Road. And we're here to talk to you about the same ordinance, I believe, that was discussed in item number 1 under new business, which is Resolution 2023 R5, I think, that was adopted in January. So my client submitted plans for his new manufacturing facility on December 4th of 2022 and started pursuing permitting. And then, the update, I guess it would be an update to the 2007 ordinance, was approved after that. He became aware of it from the building inspector and went in, got quotes, and the effect of complying with it is an additional $100,000 in building cost to meet that 60% requirement. The handout that I gave you includes a number of exhibits that show figure 1 is what the permitting he's pursuing now, which is the initial 2 buildings. This will strictly be just a manufacturing site. It'll be gated, not open to the public. And figure 1 will be what he hopes to build now. Figure 2 is kind of a master plan that would come later with additional buildings. Some of the points in addition to the cost are, you'll see the Google Earth images from Ruffner Road. There's a natural greenbelt buffer of trees that shields the visibility of these buildings from the roadway. All the buildings would be at least 135 feet from Ruffner Road, and he plans on installing indigenous landscaping as well. None of the buildings, none of their entrances will face Ruffner Road. So the impact of you providing some relief to him would be minimized by all those factors. Now, again, I understand that you're looking at this ordinance possibly in 2 weeks. So I thought it was worthwhile to introduce you to our property and project. And if you have any questions for us tonight or in the future, we'd love the chance to talk to you about that.
Councilman London, do you have any immediate questions for the gentleman?
So I'm looking at where's Ruffner Road on there? Can you tell me?
I think it was at the bottom of the illustration.
That right?
Yeah, and that's for the trees, the buffer that you see on the figure 3.
Okay.
That's off Ruffner Road, those trees.
So that's the back of the building facing Ruffner there?
Yes, sir. There's actually 2 buildings, and you might be looking at, is that
This figure number 2.
figure number 1 is what we're pursuing permitting on right now. Figure 2 would just be kind of a master plan of what might be done in the future.
That's the back. Okay. All right.
Any questions for the gentleman, sir?
I do.
Well,
and-
Councilman London, do you have any
sorry.
questions for him?
So where are you trying to put the brick on the back of the building or the front of the building?
The building, as we have it designed, is going to be metal. So the ordinance requires masonry material on exterior walls that face a public road, and that's what we're asking for relief on, a special exception.
Okay. So you don't want to do anything with the back of the building?
Yes, sir. We're looking to continue on with the metal building.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
The only questions I'd like clarity on is, and maybe I misunderstood our legal counsel on this, was it not the case that anyone who had their building plans that were turned in for approval prior to the revised ordinance, weren't those plans allowed to continue moving forward?
This is the first that I've heard about this, and I don't have a copy of that. I'll be more than willing to look at it, but I don't even have any copies. I really can't speak to that at this point. So.
Okay. So
that,
that'd be something for us to consider, because when we looked at the ordinance and approved that ordinance on January 17th, it did state that any businesses that had applied with the business permit office and the inspectors, that those were going to be allowed to continue to move forward. And maybe I misinterpreted that, but I thought that's what it said.
we'll double check it
Okay.
and see what other, because I think we all have the current building ordinance sort of in our head. I know I've kind of forgotten the prior iteration. So let's DC the statement around application, and let's also kind of revisit what might have been in that building ordinance to begin with that might apply
Yeah.
to that. I think that's fair.
So that's the only thing I have a question on.
Councilman Box?
Council,
I guess,
Council
Oh, one
President.
second, sir. Mayor.
That was a resolution. I think it wasn't an ordinance, but it was a resolution. But plans were submitted, but plans were not accepted or complete.
there you go.
Well, let's revisit the implications of what we had when we got it.
Can I speak, please? Yes, the plans were complete, and I'm the owner of the property, and the plans were complete. The only thing that was not on the outside was the brick veneer, which we at that time weren't required, because if you take a look at the ordinance that was created in 2009 by Mayor Alexander, Ruffner Road was excluded from the ordinance showing where the actual brick facade had to be. And so this, we basically had followed the guidelines up until the point the ordinance was on January 17th. Up until that point, the old ordinances said on these particular roads, you're not required to have the brick facade.
Well, can you tell us why, if you submitted it on December the 4th and you met the criteria to get the permit, why you didn't get the permit?
You'll have to ask the building inspector that, because I have, once it was submitted, because I can show you on various emails where it was submitted to Greg, nobody knows. I mean, it shouldn't have taken a month to approve the drawings that I know of. Now, I don't know what was how this was tied together, whatever the case is, because if you look at, there was two things that weren't in things. It was one, the building code. They had referenced an old building code, and that was nothing more than changing the date. The second thing that was there was we didn't have the brick outlined on the buildings because we didn't know we had to. We were following the old ordinances. And so this is what led us to submit the plans as were, because there was no reason to do anything else. The old code was just a matter of changing it from 2017 to 2021. It's just a number. And everything, if you go and you compare the two codes, they're the same. There are just minor things, but for the 98% of them are the same. It was just a matter of a change.
Well, and I appreciate your comments. Thank you. If you'll just allow us to circle back, gather our thoughts, and we can revisit this in 2 weeks. Okay, fair enough. Before these gentlemen depart, Councilman Box, any questions?
I guess my questions were going to be.
Excuse me?
I'll wait for the comments and the
Okay.
audience to stop.
Councilman Box, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. The question I would have, so you're saying the phase one's going to be gated and it's not going to be open to the public?
It's strictly a manufacturing
Not,
facility.
not going to be a showroom, not going to be sales, not going to be anything at all there to bring a client in for the public whatsoever? And then phase two, are those going to also be manufacturing facilities, or are those going to
We
be?
have not made up our mind at this point, because if the ordinance goes forward, there's no reason to spend an extra $250,000 renting buildings. It's not cost effective to do so, because if you take it $15 a square foot, which is roughly what you take and you do buildings with, that's basically the brick cost. And you're requiring me to go 60% or 100% on the front or 60% on three sides. It doesn't make sense. And if you take a look at the actual, if you add 7 buildings to the town of Irondale, you're going to increase revenue tremendously for the city. And not that makes a big difference, but I've been in the city 20 years. I've been manufacturing granite at 1500 Georgia Road for this. I knew David when he was the president of Regions Bank. I mean, this is how long we've been here. Still got that flex line you told me.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, but the idea behind it is we're not trying to skirt around this. We understand that the buildings that we're building are going to be facing inward. and we're gonna have a gated community, because that's what I want. I want if we decide to put when I'm moving my business, we just gonna be in and out. That's what we do. My sales are everywhere around the county, but we don't have a showroom. You're welcome to visit my facility tomorrow, and I'll show you, we have no showroom. We're a manufacturing only.
Okay, so the only other question would be, I believe we're going to revisit the ordinance and maybe do some tooling on the percentages of masonry required. And once we finish that, then I think it would be a more appropriate time to address any variances.
Councilman Sims, any questions for the gentleman?
No questions.
Okay. Any questions I have been answered?
I do have a follow-up. Do you have showrooms anywhere around the area?
No, ma'am.
You don't?
We're a 6-person company, and I'm the owner, and it's just 7 to 3:30 workaholics.
Okay.
We don't have a showroom. I have a boneyard, if you you know, that's pretty much all we do. But we don't know. I did away with showrooms because there are 37,000 types of stone that are being manufactured and sold, and I can't keep up with them, so there's no reason to.
Okay.
That's what Triton Stone, Encore Stone, and IGS, that's what they're for. I send them to them. That's where people do their shopping. They buy their stone, and then they send it to me. I don't even have anything to do with that part of it, because I got out of the handling slabs and everything for that reason, because you don't know what's out there.
Thank you.
Thank you both, gentlemen. I appreciate your time. Any other comments about non-agenda items? Non-agenda items. If there are no comments around non-agenda items, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion in a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic evening.
Oh, what a night. Late December back in 20.
I started making tallies because I wanted to make tallies. I started making tallies in the second round instead of the third. So
I thought it was like potatoes.
it's a long day. Long day.
I figured it was, you got to make.
I normally don't do tallies for the third,
Yeah.
but for this I wanted to do tallies, and that's where I screwed myself up.
I thought we were going to have the first ever
All right.
like
Yeah.